So since my time here in 2014, we've seen a huge increase in the mental health calls within the county, and it just seems to keep getting higher and higher every year. I've kind of seen that the burden of the mental health in the community has kind of been placed on law enforcement, because there just hasn't historically been a lot of services in Colorado for the mentally ill. So we've kind of had to learn and adapt and try to be able to handle those situations a lot. But what I like to explain to a lot of people is law enforcement for all these years, all we've been doing is putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, right? And does that really help the situation? No. I mean, it solves it for that moment, but what do we do afterwards when we deal with that person again next week, next month, next year down the road? How do we handle that situation instead of dealing with the way that we've been dealing with it forever? Trying to come up with a good solution for that, because the things that we're doing right now just are not working. So we wanted to kind of take a different approach and try something different, kind of try something outside the box. And that's what Co-response is out there doing right now.
Co-response is a desperately needed service in this community. And I say that because it puts a face in front of law enforcement and our clinicians to say, we can make a difference in this one person's life today. That impact, for many of the people that we come in contact with, they never see.
And that's where Co-response, I believe, comes in, where we can help them, connect them with those resources and get them the further help that they need by bringing in Mesa County Behavioral Health and teaming up with the Mesa County Sheriff's Office to bring those people together and build those relationships, not only with law enforcement, but with the community at large, and helping people connect with those resources.
I was licensed as a social worker 15 years ago in Massachusetts. And at that time, there was this really exciting opportunity to create new crisis response in the community. They were looking at lots of different models, and one of them was mobile crisis, which we stood up pretty quickly, and it was amazing the work that we did, going to people's homes and working with people directly, creating plans to help keep them in their home. But what we noticed is that we were going into some dangerous places, and there were often times when it would have been nice to have a little backup. And so we created something very organically where the police would respond with us at the same time in separate cars. And over time, what we realized is we were wasting a lot of time coordinating that. What if we stood up a team that actually rode together, responded together, and started to help do some internal training with law enforcement around mental health? From that team started off small. There were a couple of us that rode with police officers regularly. And that then led to this really neat idea where law enforcement was using mental health as an internal wellness program. And they were using it to help support their staff. And that grew to a real mutual understanding about how we work together and how we can complement each other. That became early co-response. We met for 2 years in this community talking about how we could create a co-response team and what that would look like. They rolled it out in early 2018. It lasted 2 years, and sure enough, the data was exactly what we predicted it would be and looked like many other communities around the nation that were doing it. So we knew it worked. My passion has always been that this is a model that works. It is absolutely needed, and it helps law enforcement, who is already doing that really tough work, have another tool when they respond to some of these really tough clients.
Let's face it, nobody wants to be involved with the police, and they don't want to have police involved in their life, right? Having a clinician in the car is completely different because they are not law enforcement whatsoever. So kind of understanding their roles in their world and kind of enlightening them on our world, because the law enforcement world is a completely different monster from clinician training, if you call it that, and actually taking them out in the field and taking them into these crisis situations.
I'm riding myself with them and watching the work that the deputies do, and they've always done. Just because we're in the car with them does not make them any different. They do this work every day. But having a clinician there to testify to the difference and the change that they're making in that person's life, if they ever needed it, that's the benefit I think that we have by being in that car.
With co-response, you are on the road. You are in people's homes, you're in facilities, you are in the parks, you're in the community. So the calls will generally come into dispatch. And then if it's got like a mental health, behavioral health aspect to the call, they'll connect it to our team, to the co-response team. It can be anything from a suicidal party to, just somebody that's just needing some extra support, somebody who's, feeling a little depression, needing some housing references, anything like that. So yeah, we just never know what we're gonna get. So we just go prepared. We have everything that we need in the car with us. Our office is basically in the car for that day. and we just hit the ground running.
We have lots of wonderful programs in this community that will help people tomorrow if you come to their door. And we want to get those people to the door, but some people need help getting to that door. Co-response goes to where the person is, where their need is, helps to see them in that place and get them to the right door. But sometimes in the process of getting them to the door, we've also created a human relationship that they've never had or haven't had in a long time. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as giving them, we carry water and food. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Sometimes it's as simple as finding them shoes. We have amazing teams right now that think outside the box, and they'll go to great lengths to make someone's moment better. The goal of Co-response is to keep people out of acute care services. How do we keep people in their homes, supported, safe, and give them the resources they need in the place they are?
We get to make an impact on the community as a whole. We really strive to keep people from having to go to jail, keeping people out of the emergency department so that people who are really sick or injured can get their treatment in there. For law enforcement, being able to be out on calls that they could be out on, whether it's a different kind of a crime, whatever that might be.
Even in our world as law enforcement, not necessarily with just the co-response, but the taking care of your mental health is much more socially acceptable in our world too. And so for that to spill over with co-response and all that, it's a cute, different way of looking at things, right? So we're not just looking at what crime was broken, do these people got to go to jail? It's, okay, maybe we do have the criminal element, and we'll deal with that, but what's causing that? Is it substance abuse? Is it homelessness that they don't have resources, so that's why they're stealing things or breaking into things like that? And so there's that compassionate piece there where they're still human beings. We're still going to do our job as law enforcement, but if we look at them through that compassionate, caring lens, I think we can problem solve a lot better than just a us versus them, a cop versus suspect mentality.
Was it us? Yeah.
Obviously, we've got a huge homeless encampment problem in the county. So we try to schedule some of those and kind of reach out to a lot of those encampments to help them, connect them with resources.
They've exhausted all their other resources. They burned so many bridges, and they feel like really there's nothing left for us. But now with co-response, with that team, we're not going to give up on them. We're going to continue to build up that relationship, continue to see how we can support them. They may feel that there's a stigma out there to where, to ask for mental health is a sign of weakness or something. Like what we can help them normalize what they're experiencing, help them to see that there's, our society is changing now. We're recognizing that normal people can struggle with depression, normal people can struggle with anxiety, sort of thing. And so then help them, find help or find resources as well too, to get them plugged in as well.
Well, I've definitely learned a lot from our clinicians because they take that medical aspect and apply it to stuff that we've already been doing in law enforcement, but kind of puts in a lot of those technical terms and kind of helps us better understand what this person is going through, how they see the world, how they're just viewing what's happening right in that moment.
Watching them deal with the public and watching how they handle or how they address crisis or somebody who's having a bad day has just been hugely beneficial to me, because the tips, whether it's coping mechanisms or venting, de-stressing, de-escalation things, watching how they talk with people has benefited me because I can use that personally. I can use it on the job. So I think that's been really cool.
But definitely learning a lot from those clinicians. And their knowledge base is far above and beyond most of law enforcement's knowledge base in this realm.
Just the short time I've been here, especially riding with the clinicians that, mental health is on their jackets and their shirts, the amount of people that come up and talk to us and talk to them specifically, just regular citizens, and they voice how awesome it is to have that mental health component with law enforcement, because mental health is huge and it's becoming more and more popular, or at least more and more talked about. And so for us to be able to have more resources in that world is huge.
I know one of the main reasons that we're there as a clinician is to support folks in the community, but I see my role too is building that relationship with that deputy. And don't tell them this, but one of the key things is developing that relationship with them, because they're under a lot of pressure, under stress. And so I know. Yeah, because it's one thing to help those folks in the community, but these guys are first responder too. So if I can develop a relationship with them, and keep them healthy too, not only mentally but spiritually, or just that whole thing be a support to them. That to me is a bigger win. that we can do for the community, for them, as co-responder kind of people. But gosh, I hope that doesn't get aired.
My hope for the future of this program is that we continue to connect people with these resources instead of putting them in jail, instead of putting them in the emergency departments and places where they don't really need to be at that moment, and try to help them get the services that they need, get them to the places where they need, get them reconnected with family even. Because a lot of times that's where these people have been abandoned by family, friends, anybody out there, and try to help build those relationships. And even if it's just one step at a time, getting them to where they need to be again.
In 3 years, we'll see across the community a reduction in acute care services. That means a reduction in the ERs, a reduction of clients going in and out of the jails, a reduction in using West Springs Hospital or any hospital mental health stay. Hopefully, we'll see some reductions in some substance use. We're trying to create opportunities to create other programs to support the co-response team. In 3 years, the data will absolutely show a reduction in those services. We know we're going to need workforce. We know we're going to need more people who are passionate about the work we're doing, that see the value in going into the community and creating these opportunities and these relationships, working with law enforcement in that relationship. We need more deputies in this community that are interested in doing this work and see the benefit of working collaboratively with us, which I know there are tons of them, but we're going to need more people to support this. And so my hope is that more people see this and see the work that we're doing and say, I want to do that work. I want to be a part of that team. And how do I get there? That's my hope in the future.